Huna is, as I understand it, is very practical.
Yes.
And they're the 7 principles. And I was just wondering if you could just like delineate practical usages with reference to the 7 principles.
Okay, but with reference to what? See, these principles, these ideas, are what I was taught from my family, that we call Huna, which means the hidden or esoteric knowledge, okay, can be applied to anything. Right now, I'm in the process of doing some lectures where we are applying it to teaching people about healing and complementary healing. But it can be applied to a lot of different things. So, is there a context in which you want to ask?
Healing is fine.
Healing is good.
Yeah.
Yes.
Can I make it a little more specific?
Sure.
I do have a question related to healing, and Huna, I'm sure will help. I have 2 friends scheduled for major surgery tomorrow, heart surgery and brain tumor, very long procedures, and ones that I would like to be able to help from a distance because they're not right here. And I know that they're going a traditional route, but I also know that there are other methods that we could possibly look at to help them as well. So could you tell us about that in terms of Huna?
Okay, well, let's go through and look at some of these ideas in the light of healing and apply that specifically and a little more generally. First idea is that the world is what you think it is. Well, this means that our experience is governed by our beliefs. You can have an experience. 2, 3, 4, 5 dozen, a society can have a very similar experience, but how they react to that experience is going to depend on their beliefs about themselves, about the experience, about life in general. And generally in Hawaiian, in many traditional societies, there's the idea that life comes from inside out, from spirit into expression. And the Hawaiian and the Huna is very much like that too. It's the ideas you have about life that determine not only what you experience, but how you experience it. In a similar way, if you have no ideas about a particular area of life, none whatsoever, no concepts about it, you'll miss the experience. It'll happen right by you, okay? Others may see it or feel it, and you won't even know it happened. So this is from the inside out. Applying specifically to healing, then, the way we think about things can make us feel good or make us feel bad. The more you think about things in a way that makes you feel bad, the more stress you bring up on the body, the more you inhibit the natural healing process. The more you interfere even with the processes that are trying to help you heal, like surgery, like medicines, like herbs, like psychotherapy, any of these kinds of things. So your thoughts about not only the illness, but about life in general would determine your level of stress and how much that interferes with or aids the healing process. First thing. That's why it's a very important one. The world is what you think it is. Now the second one, well, let me go back to that one. It's also why we encourage cooperation between different healing systems. Lately I said I've been teaching this. One of the things that I've emphasized is that in old Hawaii, when they had the healing practitioners of all different kinds, they had surgeons, they had bone setters, they had herbalists, they had people who laid on hands, they had massage, they had a form of psychotherapy, they had magic, they had all kinds of things. But of all these different kinds of practitioners and specialists, there is nothing I've ever heard of or that's anywhere recorded that they were in competition. The important thing was the healing. And so everybody cooperated and brought everything together to bring about the healing. Okay? And that was how they thought about it. If you think you have to make a choice between this method or that method, again it comes out, then you're going to lose out on the possible benefits of one or the other. Yeah.
Okay, about the beliefs thing. If the person going in for surgery is fearful or believes that pain is a result of the healing process, or
right.
That bleeding and swelling might happen, can you still help to influence their experience if they have that belief?
You can help because what determines how the body responds to any kind of treatment is the subconscious, even more than the conscious mind. This philosophy assumes that we can communicate subconsciously. And so, well, let me tell you this way. We'll go, take the second principle, there are no limits. No limits. It's an infinite universe. And that infinite universe is intelligent. This is assumed as well. Okay? You can assume it's not, but that's still an assumption. There's no way to prove one or the other. But when you assume it is alive and intelligent, then you can interact with it and call upon it. And if you assume it's dead, then you can't. So it's a very practical way of operating. Because when you assume it is and you call upon that infinity to help you by whatever name you choose, help occurs. So in this kind of sense, it's like when we're saying, don't let the word telepathy get in your way. We're talking about prayer. Okay? And for those of you who are more Western scientifically inclined, there are at least existing some 150 scientific studies in English confirming the relationship between prayer and healing. Okay? So this is no longer an area of doubt or metaphysics. Okay? Prayer works. So when we're talking about can we help someone in spite of their fears, yes. By thinking well, by wishing them well, by asking a higher power to help with the healing, that's prayer. One of the studies, interestingly enough, showed that people, they did this study of people in the hospital, a particular hospital with the same kind of illness, and they brought in people who didn't even know them. And they took one segment of these people with no prayers, and another segment had these strangers come in and pray for them, without even being able to see them. Okay? And the group that was prayed for did significantly better. Significantly better. That was even with strangers who didn't have a particular prayer form, who didn't even know the people they were praying for, still helped them. Okay? So this is something that works. Because of that connection, there are no limits. Now, it goes along also with the idea that energy flows where attention goes. So often we are putting our attention on what we're afraid of or what we don't want, instead of putting our attention on what we do want and encouraging that. And by doing that, again, we create stress, we interfere with the healing process, and we fail to see opportunities. Sometimes fail to notice effects that we could pay attention to and help or change by our focus. So in a healing situation like you're talking about, okay, put the focus on the desired result of healing instead of the fears of what might happen if it goes wrong. Because the future, this might come as a shock, so I apologize in advance, but the future is a fantasy. The future does, for all practical purposes right now, does not exist. Anything you think about it, therefore, is made up. Because we don't know what's going to happen in the next few moments. We can have a pretty good idea for the next few moments, okay? Because we can see the patterns that are here right now and assume that they're going to follow more or less for the next few moments. And this day will contain more of the things we're used to. Tomorrow the sun will probably come out. And, but we don't know that, okay? And especially when we're talking about the outcome of a healing, it's all made up. So when you're thinking about the future, you're affecting your body right now. You can do experiments that show that when you are worried about something in the future, your body reacts chemically and physically right now. When you are looking forward to a good event, your body puts out endorphins and pain suppressants and releases muscle tension, and the healing process expands because of where you're putting the focus of your attention. So that's why it makes practical sense to think about a positive result rather than a potential negative one. Because you're affecting your body right now and its ability to heal itself. Yes?
Other than the methods of healing that you've just described, did the Hawaiians have any unique practice of medicine contribution that we could still maintain, such as the trichotomies of the Egyptians and the acupuncture of the Chinese, or the processes of the Philippines?
Out of all the things I would say probably, if we want to take something which was a unique contribution, I think there are primarily two, okay? Because there are other societies that have shamanic techniques, journeying and inner work and things like that. There are other societies that have you know, trepanning and the surgery techniques. There are other societies that use herbs of all different kinds. Sure, there are some here that are different, but there are others elsewhere that do the same thing. The two areas that I think would be most unique would be the body work, which you can term massage, because the forms that are used here, still used, are unlike any elsewhere, anywhere on earth. And so they are very, very unique. One form that produces healing effects by working only on the skin, and another form which is a long, extended, flowing, almost dance with the patient, which produces deep healings as well. And those are unlike anything anywhere else. The other thing is the practical application of aloha, which actually comes up with the fifth principle out of these things that I was talking about. The application of love to healing here is very practical. So one of the forms of that is in what we call ho'oponopono, which is getting everybody back in harmony. See, it's not like when we think of psychotherapy, finding the problem to make a person aware of it. That's not what ho'oponopono is. Ho'oponopono is defining the problem and getting people to change in relation to it and in relation to each other. So it's a harmonizing thing based on this ideal of aloha, of love. And so, and the blessing that they have, which kind of goes along with this, the idea of healing by complimenting, praise, gratitude as a healing practice, also goes along with that, ho'oponopono. It's a way of bringing things back together into harmony.